to be here to explore that action. I'm delighted to be joined by Natasha Britcha, environmental specialist at FIESP, Federation of Industry for the TC. The first one, it's important to explore how can international standards be translated into thinking circular. Introduce yourself.
Lina, thank you for everybody to be here with us at this moment, enjoying our conversation. It's an honor. Thank you to the specialist at the Federation of the Industries of the State discussing circular economy since the beginning, 2019. And I am part of the delegation of Brazilian experts that are discussing within the technical committee. And I have been out with the aim to and also here and that have BNT adopted the standards on Brazil. And together with CNI, we have here a representative of CNI, and we launched a guideline here in Brazil supporting the sector how to implement and use the standards on circular economy, mainly until today. And I'm here how the standards can have been in Jamaica for the ISO 323 plenary some weeks ago. And I had the opportunity to share how Brazil, the experience of Brazil and developing policies for circular economy. And I think it's important to say that it's not because we launched the plan of circular economy and the national strategy last year and this year that we started to discuss this now. We have a national policy on waste that have already several pillars on circular economy since 2010. So Brazil has a lot of solutions and a lot of knowledge to share with all the world on that. And well, I have heard this week on panel here in COP, one panelist that said that for enhanced circular economy standards for improving and fostering circular economy policies, I mean, we need to find the common zone when we allow people, when we are developing a policy, the first step is always to have this common understanding. And when you have standards like the family on circular economy that have a framework for implementation, but also the main concepts described there, and we can make these much more easier for policymakers because we kind of already discussed it along 5 years and try to provide the world this common understanding. So just for those that were not part of the process, in the beginning of the development of the standard, we looked to more than 300 different definitions of circular economy. And there was a large discussion to try to find the one definition that everybody could feel reflected on. And we have here in Brazil supported our government to use this definition that was already discussed, not because, well, we would save a lot of time and discussion here also, but because this means that we are going to start already connected of an international understanding of circular economy. And I think, well, with this we start first with the harmonization of concepts and guidance. When we have this harmonization, it also means that we are bringing predictability to the system. So when organizations know what are going to be considered circular economy, what are the actions that contribute circular economy, what are the indicators, how you measure circular economy and impacts and etc. And the actions and the strategies of the organizations can be accelerated with no fear that is going to be any change in the middle of the way. So what I see is that a lot of different organizations had what they are already doing respected on this process. And I think it is really important because until you have the final product or the final of the project that we have now to show, this kind of discussion is a long on the past on the companies. So if you every time you change the direction, it's a little bit confusing for them to accelerate the transition. I think other thing is important that in the circular economy standard, we promote a common vision, what we think it should be the goal of everybody when trying to implement circular economy principles. Beyond, of course, harmonizing the principles of circular economy, the principles that must be taken into consideration when you're developing your strategy as an organization. And for me, that means that we are kind of guiding the efforts to a common understanding of future also. So we are all trying to get to the same place and adding efforts instead of having efforts to completely different directions. And the second thing that I think is related with the harmonization still is that when we have the harmonization of concepts, guidance, actions, and etc., indicators, we facilitated the connection between different sectors. And for circular economy especially, this is really important because we are not talking only about the value chain, but about the value network, that is a really important concept for us in circular economy. So we need to improve the relation between different stakeholders, so we are sure that we can provide a network that will allow us to make the flow of material continue in the economy. And when we have this common language and this common understanding, it makes much more easier to build this capacity. Other point that I think is really important to take in consideration is that for me, standards support us on how to turn from policies to concrete actions. So we have on the ISO Circular Economy Family Standards a set of actions that contribute for circular economy, and they illustrate how we can add, retain, or recover value from materials. It's not, of course, a checklist. It's more illustrative to inspire organizations how can then implement actions in their business models. But I think this is important, so people are now understanding that we are talking much more than just recycling. We are talking about a different mindset, building out new relations with the market, new relations with the government, and so forth. So when we are trying to provide this kind of better connections, I am sure that we are fostering and helping policymakers how they can improve their policies to make this also. And support us is also to make a singular framework on how measure the impact and how the performance of the organization is aligned with the principles of circular economy. And I have heard so many times here this week on COP the relation between circular economy and climate change and how it is starting to reduction and so far. So I think it's a good first step to put this discussion on the table and make people start to thinking and connecting these indicators and connect the impacts of different initiatives that were not being seen as connected before as they should be. And that brings me to the point that you said about the connection between circular economy and decarbonization. So I think for everybody here, especially here in Belém, the COP, it's clear that we are not going to solve the climate change challenges with the solutions that we have now. So we are going to need to be more creative every day to try to reduce our emissions on greenhouses. And circular economy, for me, is a really strategic tool to improve this decarbonization of our economy and the way that we are going to be able to offer to the society mobility, shelter, and food, water, reducing the demand and the need that we have with virgin materials, and allowing us to meet the demands of the society, the growth of the economy, and the use of the materials that we have available on our planet. So when we are having initiatives as reuse or remanufacturing or industrial symbiosis, when we have more smart mobility for the materials so far, we are decreasing the emissions related with destruction, we are decreasing the emissions related to the logistic of this material with the production of new materials and so far. Also, when we look for different raw materials that are more circular, we are also improving the possibilities of decarbonizing this process and the life cycle of this product. Sorry. So I think we are still starting this discussion. There is a lot to be added to discussion still. For example, the relation with circular economy and adaptation on climate change is a field that is still being building. We are still researching on that, but for sure it's going to be one of the key pillars for decarbonizing our economy. And I think that one other thing that's important to consideration is when we have an international standard, especially, but a national has the same process. The point is to have different perspectives discussing the same issue. So it's really rich when we have different realities trying to solve the same problem, and the opportunity to see that there is different worlds than the one that we are used to. So it doesn't mean that we have a single and just one way to solve all the problems. And I think this is really important when we look to circular economy as a standards, because it's a guidance standard, and it's not so discussed yet subject for many organizations. But now we are having the opportunity to show for people that had maybe some narrowed conception of circular economy that we have a lot of different possibilities to be more circular or to improve the circularity within our process and the way that we consume, and we have mobility in cities and so forth. So I think when we are open to see the other solutions and the other realities that other countries has, and we start to have better ideas and starts to have better solutions to address this kind of big challenge that we have ahead. And in a national committee is the same, so we have different sectors and different stakeholders all putting your efforts together to address a challenge, and this contributed with the policies because we have already some kind of consensus building instead of this kind of forums, and the policy informed the effort that has been done. Policies also are an important tool to improve these networkings that I was talking about. So once that we have standards giving this harmonized concept of value network, then we can have policies helping us to look what are the opportunities and challenges that we have within each sector and between sectors, and then we can have a more sectoral or more specific policies driving the circular economy and looking for these specific challenges also. But we have the overall umbrella in the standard starting this trajectory within each sectorial discussion. And maybe other point that we need to talk about when we start talking about standards and policies is the ambition. You understand? The ambition of a standard, of course, it needs to be set in a way that everybody in any place of the world can feel reflected on that. And that means that ambition can go to when we have this kind of standard and we are developing a policy, you can go further with your ambition, looking to your reality of your country. And I think that was we did in Brazil. So, and were already part of the process of the ISO, and we participated as industry, as the sector, in the discussions of the National Plan on Circular Economy and the National Strategy on Circular Economy, and since the beginning on the National Policy on Circular Economy that it's under approval on our Congress. And we could provide then, that's the common understand, that's common guidance on how we can go circular economy. That should be our first step, and from this we can discuss our ambition and the specific ways that we need to deal with this within our country. So now we have a plan that's going to start to prioritize some sectors and go a deep discussion on circular economy, looking to their specifics. We have a national strategy that already show us the next steps to transition circular economy on Brazil for the 10 next years. We have more than 70 actions listed. We are now going to start a discussion on the plan of circular economy to set the indicators that are going to be used to measure the impact and the implementation of the national strategy. And of course, the ISO is going to be, again, a first step to the discussion. So I think this is the overall how I would address the 3 points you asked me, Karina.
Yes, Natasha, thank you very much. We clearly can see the importance of the international standards and these multi-stakeholders and multicultural and different countries in different perspectives, and how this is important to apply the international standards in our public policies. Congratulations from your work. And we can also see this reflected in our mirror committee, that we have a lot of different stakeholders, high-level experts that are working hard on this ISO technical committee. It's very interesting to see that. And I would like to know if you, what challenges do you see that we have to get more organizations and more stakeholders being part of this process, at the national level or international level? Do you see challenges when you talk to organizations, to governments, to bring them and to understand and make them understand the importance of being part of this international technical committee?
Well, I think maybe the first one maybe is the time zone difference and logistical and maybe difficult to be in-person meetings, but thanks to the pandemic, at least we need to see the good points of things that happens, right? And we have now the possibility to work online on these technical committees. And I think this is one of the reasons that we have more than 80 or maybe almost 100 countries now looking into this topic. And I think maybe some people still need to understand the importance of being part of the process of the standard, because then you are going to ensure that your point of view are going to be reflected on the process. So I think everybody that works on an ISO standard development, our main aiming is to provide to the market a text that everybody can implement on the organization. And as I said, it's really hard to find the balance on finding this common zone where we can say, okay, this is the common line that everybody can go through, and then we have the marge where people can adapt it to their reality. And if we don't have all these perspectives and all these different realities and different voices being part of the process, it's a little bit hard for us to imagine everything that we need to be worried about on the text. So I think we are moving to more concrete participation of different sectors. I think this is one, at least that I am part of one of the biggest committees, and people are really active on the meetings. I'd like to congratulate actually the delegates from Brazil that have been really hard work in different times on the day because of the time zone, and have been really dedicated time to read, propose, make comments, and find solutions to provide the best text that we could for the market last year. And we are now, of course, being really deeply engaged on the process of the revision of the standards and the two new work item proposals that are going to be developed for the next years.
Okay, thank you. We have any questions from the audience? Any questions? No? Just one more. What opportunities do you see for Brazil to lead globally in this field? We know that we already have a co-convener in one working group, but I think we can lead more. I think we have expertise for that. Do you believe in that?
Yeah, for sure. I personally believe that Brazil has a lot to show for the world, how we do things here. And we have endless specificities that we need always to consider. And we have a national committee that has a lot of different representations of different sectors, and congratulations CNI for this work they made coordinating this national body here in Brazil, and always trying to have more voices that's possible discussing. We, as I said in the beginning, we had the effort to provide this guidance on how to use the standards to try to have more impact on the market and try to reach the small and medium enterprises that are usually not so far from the process of developing a standard. Sorry. And we had a Brazilian convener for the development of 19004 about the guidance, concept, and framework, and he did a wonderful job leading this work. Congratulations to Jorge Soto. It's a big friend of us. And we also have a Brazilian leadership to development of the TR on cases of performance-based approach, and Josué. So congratulations to him also. And Brazil today represent Latin America on the CAG. So we are part of, and we are really close to the discussions with the coordination of the TC. And we have been actively engaged on the business plan for the TC also. And we are trying to make more close connections between COP30 and the coordination of the TC. But as you, I believe that Brazil has so many different sectors and different delegates every day putting the efforts to be part of the discussions and show Brazilian examples and Brazilian solutions, and making the best to provide solutions so we can go with the text further, because we know that the market needs it. So, and to have a text that really are real, you know, close to the reality. We don't need to have a text that's just an utopia. So I think, and not only under this TC, but we had this year here in Brazil in May, the World Circular Economy Forum for the first time in Latin America, and FIESP together, CNI and SENAI, our National Knowledge Service, and the Finland Fund for Innovation, CITRA. We promoted here the 9th edition of the forum, and we had more than 1,000 people in place from 70 different countries and more than 10,000 people online. So the main topic was the relation between circular economy and climate change, so how circular economy is a strategy to decarbonize and promote this connection from within different regions, showing that we have a lot of tropical solutions that can support people on circularity and decarbonizing their economies also. when you look for industry, you're not looking only how we can improve circularity and the decarbonization of the process of industry, but industry is the basis of decarbonizing and the circularity of all the economy. We provide the machines, we provide the products, and etc. So it's not possible to go further on with this process without this connection between the sectors and between the regions. So we have a really global circular economy. Different circles on the economy is not the point here. We don't want to have circles that don't meet each one. We really want to have a global circular economy.
So thank you very much, Natasha, for being here today with us. And it was a pleasure to hear more about the importance of circular economy on the climate change agenda. And it will be a pleasure to receive more national experts in our Mirror Committee so we can work even harder in the ISO Technical Committee. Thank you very much. And applause for Natasha, please.
Thank you for the invitation.
Vem cá, vem cá.